It's been a long time coming, but we've finally gotten another look into what to expect from Re:Zero Season 2, plus a guaranteed release date of not too far away. But Re:Zero wasn't the only anime who had to delay their production. Just as we anticipated in our last news video, many more anime joined the likes of Re:Zero and SAO in the inevitable pushback of their air dates. So before we get into the new anime announcements and previews, here's all the anime from the past month that are confirmed to have been delayed as well. Food Wars, Shoujo Kageki Review Starlight, the compilation film, Akudama Drive, Vlad Love, Hypnosis Mike, Zoid's Wild Zero, Higurashi, or better known as When They Cry, Haikyuu the Second Cour, Warlords of Sigurifa, Maesetsu, Seven Deadly Sins, X-Arm, and Assault Lily Bouquet. In addition to this, there's two others that I'm sure many of you would be especially disappointed to see. And those are That Time I Got Reincarnated as a Slime and DanMachi. DanMachi's third season was originally planned to be airing next month, but now it will air in October. As for the slime, well, the first half of the second season got a substantial delay all the way to January, and the second half will be continuing in July of next year. In that 3-month period in between though, we'll get to see a spin-off series called The Slime Diaries. So there's definitely plenty of slime isekai to keep us entertained starting 2021. Now, I'm sure many of you are here to see what exactly we got revealed to us for Re:Zero. Well, other than getting to see a whole plethora of new characters, we also got our first look into what happened to Rem after the fight with the whale. If you remember at the end of the director's cut, they left us off with a massive cliffhanger of Amelia asking who is Rem. An infamous line that I'm sure many of you have now come across in one way or the other. So finally we got some clues as to what exactly could have been the cause of Amelia's loss of memory. Now, if you're an anime only, let me know what you think the whole situation surrounding Rem is. I'm really curious to see how you guys are trying to piece everything together, cause I'm sure that there was a lot of overwhelming stuff to be seen in this trailer. Other than the stuff with Rem, we did have an introduction to the white-haired lady from the first trailer. In the first scene, we got to see Subaru wandering around what looks to be an old castle. He then hears a mysterious voice talk about how Subaru made an interesting decision. After turning around, he finds himself to be teleported to open green plains. And up on one of the hills there's a single woman who introduces herself as Echidna, the Witch of Greed. We then switch over to a couple scenes involving new additions to the Roswell mansion. One would be the new housemaid and the other would be this guy. As you can tell, the cast is definitely growing, and with it you can expect the immensity of the story to do so as well. I'm honestly super excited to see how this season plays out. I think it's definitely shaping up to be the best anime this summer. As for when it comes out, you can expect the first episode to air on July 8th, and shortly after that, you'll be able to find the first episode of my Re:Zero cut content here. So if you want to know what the anime didn't include from the light novels and manga, then be sure to subscribe to see that type of content. For now though, you can check out what I've done with Season 1. Anyway, the only disappointing thing about Season 2 though is that it'll be split between the summer and the winter. The first half of Season 2 is going to air in July, and the second half will start in January of next year. Alright, now let's talk about some of the newer anime, the first of which is an original coming from the mind of Jun Maeda. If you're not familiar with this name, this is the man who was responsible for bringing us Angel Beats and Charlotte. If we don't consider the last few episodes of Charlotte, typically his works are pretty good. So I'm curious as to see what his take on an isekai will be, if this even turns out to be one. As of right now, not too much information on the series itself is given. The title of it is The Day I Became a God, and all we know is that the anime is centered around a girl who awakens to find herself a god, one that has the ability to foresee the end of the world. So what she does is finds a single companion to spend the rest of her time with, and that's pretty much it. Clearly it isn't very revealing. For all we know, this may not even be an isekai at all. The title and the awakening as a god part are the only clues leading me to that conclusion. But I highly doubt that this is going to be a standard fantasy anyway. Knowing Jun Maeda's and Key's previous works, typically they tend to focus more on the drama aspects. So I'm willing to bet that this will turn out to be a more emotional series than we may expect. On the other hand, the newest trailer for the Misfit of Demon King Academy looks to follow that typical action fantasy outline. Basically, we have the reincarnation of a super powerful demon lord who has to go through a demon academy that determines suitable candidates to become the next demon lord. The thing is, no one recognizes him as his former self that once stood above all other demons. More than that, they also find him unworthy to become a demon lord. So it's basically him trying to reclaim his former position as he goes through this academy. And it'll be one of the few anime that starts to air next month. Sticking to this genre, we recently got the first preview to the upcoming military fantasy titled Our Last Crusade or The Rise of a New World. At its core, this series can be likened to Romeo and Juliet, two opposing factions with lovers fated to meet on either side, yet neither can ever be together. The factions are these two countries at war, one that's dominated by powerful magic users feared as witches, and another being an empire possessing extreme technological advancements. The Empire's strongest knight and the Princess of the Witches would one day meet each other in a battle that should have concluded with one of their deaths. Instead though, they ended up falling in love. It becomes a conflict of interest where the two now struggle to choose between their personal emotions or the responsibility bestowed upon them by their respective countries. Based on that, perhaps it'll turn into an interesting tale of star-crossed lovers. Next up, we got a trailer for an original anime by Studio Sublimation, Shikizakura. Currently, there's no information on the series itself. The only thing we know is that it looks to be like a mech versus monster type anime and that it's coming out in 2021. If you want to take a closer look for yourself, then all the links for the trailers shown will be in the description below. Now, there were a couple new slice of life anime revealed as well. The first is the adaptation of the light novel Super Cub. A girl whose life wasn't very interesting at all suddenly finds that things are starting to change as she starts to ride a Honda Super Cub motorcycle to school. Honestly, it looks and sounds like an advertisement for Honda, but perhaps this anime could turn out to be rather wholesome. The other slice of life is for Adachi and Shimamura, a Yuri series that's coming out in fall. Now, the last trailer I have is one that I'm sure that many of you have already seen. The absolutely insane preview into Attack on Titan's final season. I mean, finally getting to see the most epic moments of the manga come together like this has definitely made the wait worthwhile. Though, as for how much longer we're going to have to keep waiting, well, we don't really know. But I'll be sure to keep you updated once a release date is announced. Anyway, those were all the new trailers. As for the newly announced anime adaptations, there was the borderline hentai manga World's End Harem, the fantasy light novel The Hidden Dungeon Only I Can Enter, and another fantasy light novel called She Professed Herself the Pupil of the Wise Man. Then, if you're an Inuyasha fan, you'd be happy to know that a new anime taking place within the Inuyasha universe was announced for fall 2020, this one being called Yashahime, Princess Half Demon. Other than these, we did get a few new visuals for upcoming anime like SSSS Dynazenon, The Dragon Goes House Hunting, Making a Drugstore in Another World, and The Journey of Elaine. And that's pretty much all the news from the past few weeks. Now, as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this type of anime news content, then you already know what to do. So, until next time, ciao!